So I was asked to rank the top 5 strongest bladers in terms of power. I don't know if he was referring to overall or just like actual power, but I'm going to give you a top 5 ranking for Surge amongst the legends because that's the easiest way to go about it. Also, I need you guys to stop using the manga rankings. Please stop using these. These aren't accurate to the literal blader strength, as Vault even says this in the manga itself. These rankings just determine the status of the legend itself, not necessarily the power or where they actually fit within the verse. Also, the manga and the anime are 2 separate continuities. After rereading it, there are so many events that don't happen in the manga, contrast to the anime where there's a lot of stuff that isn't said or told. Now, granted, you can use context for the manga for the anime, but you can't really use the story itself because it's really different. Think of it like the Dragon Ball anime and manga. Same timeline, different events, but they're both in the same continuity, basically. Also, for the legend ranking, I'm going to give you guys a top 6 since I have them ranked like that in the top 6. And I also do want to preference the fact that these are based off of how they did against each other individually, not together, even though it is a tag team battle, because the jumping in this shit was kind of crazy, I can't lie. But as for the number 6 and number 5 spot, I have both Free and Louis, and pretty much because of the fact that like Free and Louis are just depicted to be equals in Surge. Like there's so many like statements and like things regarding the fact that these two are really good when working together, as well as on top of the fact that they're pretty much equal in terms of power. It's also narratively portrayed and consistent for both of their characters. At the number 4 spot, I have Dante, solely due to the fact since Rise, it's been implied that Dante and Aiger's resonance is relative to one another. On top of the fact that we see in Surge, the only person that's able to equal out Aiger is Dante. Not only once, but twice. Even though Dante does get pushed back the first time, he's still able later on to equal out Aiger's Infinite Buster with his own Rainbow Flux. On top of the fact that this Infinite Buster is the same one that overpowered Vault's Brave Sword. So not only does Dante have the narrative, but he also has the feats to back it up as well. And I think he does place pretty good at number 4, considering the fact that like Free's Nothing Break did virtually nothing to Dante except knock him out. Mind you, Nothing Break is Free's strongest move. At the number 3 spot, I have Aiger, and simply due to the fact that Aiger is relative to both Shu, Vault, and Lane, and he's the first person to be able to push Lane out of the stadium with pure force. And like I said before, Aiger is able to completely match Vault's Brave Sword with Infinite Buster and knock him out. So I think it's overall consistent for Aiger to have the number 3 placement in this season. He has some pretty good feats, I can't lie. At the number 2 spot, I have Vault, simply due to the fact that Vault has some of the best feats in Surge, on top of the fact that he's able to equal out Lane post Limit Breaker system, and even is able to compete with Shu, who's relative to that same lane. I think it's consistent for Vault to be at the number 2 spot, if not the number 1 spot, but the number 1 spot I would probably have to give to Shu, just because of how equally relative he is to Lane post Limit Breaker system, on top of the fact that he can keep matching him like resonance for resonance. On top of the fact that Shu's bag is just way too deep in this season, this nigga has 3 mode changes on top of World Spin. I don't see anybody else countering that, I can't lie to you. But yeah, that's my top 6. I think it's more consistent in the anime than it is the manga, because the manga, the legends don't actually battle besides like Louis, I think, in Free. Other than that though, I don't think you guys should use the manga rankings unless you're just stating in terms of like legend status. That's fine, but not in terms of power, since like the manga makes it pretty clear just because the number 5 is number 5 doesn't mean he's like weaker than number 4, you know, type shit.